Welcome back to Tater Talk, the podcast. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Haley.
And in today's episode, we have the pleasure of introducing Patrick McIntyre. He's a seasoned fertilizer manager based in Kennewick, and he has over 3 years of experience at Lamb Weston, and he has really honed in his skills in continuous improvement, process improvement, and team building, making him a pivotal figure in the agriculture team here.
Yeah. And Patrick's journey began at a Walla Walla Community College, where he earned his Associates of Arts. And since then, he's dedicated his whole career to optimizing processes, fostering strong and collaborative teams, like Rachel said, and just bringing a wealth of knowledge and expertise to Lamb Weston. So we are so excited to chat with him today.
Yeah, hope you enjoy this episode. Patrick, thank you for joining us today. We're super excited to talk everything farm related with you right now. We'll start pretty high level. Can you describe the overall structure of farm operations and what all that entails and what that looks like?
So the farm, we have obviously Hunter Circles Farm, Patterson Farm, and Northwest Territories. Usually include about 22,000 acres, which is a pretty big land footprint. On Patterson, we have the dairy, we have the frozen plant. The dairy is a 6,000 head. 2,500 head milk, and they have to have cycles of that one, and the vegetable plant obviously. Our operations are obviously run from 100, with all of our water coming from the Columbia River. We are segmented on the farm. We're kind of segmented into departments. We have the potato department, obviously the vegetable department. We have the shop, fertilizer, which I'm in charge of, and we have road maintenance. Actually, road maintenance, I think, is one of the ones that doesn't really get called out enough. If you drive around farms, they get pretty bumpy as far as dirt roads go, and we have about 450 miles worth of roads, so they have to year-round take care of that.
Never thought of that, ever.
Absolutely. And it's kind of crazy. And obviously, we have our grounds crew that does all the mowing the lawns and taking care of that stuff. As far as the fertilizer operations go, we try to do everything we can in-house as far as chemigation, fertigation, spreading fertilizers. We have an agronomy team on site where we do all of our own samples. We don't do the testing, but when the results come in, we obviously look at those and we make recommendations to the growers, to the potato growers, vegetable growers, on things that we recommend, and then we help them with those decisions and try to make the correct ones.
So you're just a small thing. Just
a
small thing. Yeah.
Just a couple things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's cool. You call it the unsung heroes of the road crews, and maybe just some parts that people never thought about. Can you, you may have quickly described it. Did you say chemigation and fertigation? Is that, can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. So chemigation and fertigation. So chemigation obviously is what we call it when we put any chemicals on. We call it through the pivot. Any fungicides, pesticides, herbicides, we call that chemigation. When we talk about fertigation, that's anytime we put fertilizer through the pivots.
Okay.
So we have crews on site to take care of that for us. For a big part of it is timing. A lot of guys don't have that ability, and they don't really control their timing of when those shots are completed. And as the agronomy team is out scouting and doing things, sometimes it's like, hey, we really need to get this on, and we need to get it on now. So we have the ability to kind of shift gears and really attack that if we need to.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I don't know, Rachel, if you had something, you look like you have something on the tip of your tongue.
I wanted to confirm what the pivots are.
Okay.
Good question.
A pivot, when you call it like Hunter, it's called Hunter Circles Farm, right? So a pivot is literally that. It's how we water the circles. There's a center pivot where basically the sprinklers rotate around a center pivot, and that's why you call it a center pivot, because it literally pivots around the whole thing.
Okay. Huh. I was like, I know I've seen them, and I thought that might be it, but I was like, let me just clarify real quick.
Yeah, it's the most efficient way to water. They have different kinds. They have linears and stuff like that. But as far as the center pivot goes, it is the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah.
And it looks cool from our point of view.
It does.
Whenever
Right.
we've been able to see it, it looks really cool.
Yeah, and I think maybe this leads into the next question pretty well. But in terms of sustainability, we know it's a huge thing for Lamb
Mm.
Weston. What does that look like? I know you said you lead up fertilizer, but if you could, highlight some other aspects of our sustainable practices on farms too, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with crop rotation. Obviously, with sustainability, that's a big one. You can't put potatoes in a field year over year over year. You have to rotate that out. And we rotate, peas and corn, and we do have some onions on the farm and different things. So that's a big part of it. You have to rotate to keep the soil diversity going. We do plant a lot of cover crop in the fall, so that the soil doesn't blow away. It's kind of windy in Tri-Cities and in Patterson, so at times we will have problems with that. Sustainability, it encompasses a lot. So like I said, we have an agronomy team that's scouting literally all week long during the season. We take a lot of samples, and as they're scouting, they're looking for different issues as far as if it's a pest, as far as a fungus or a bug, or a weed or something like that. So we try to really find those before it becomes a problem. So then we can address that. But on the other side of that, we won't put a chemical on unless it's absolutely necessary. Like if there's no bugs out there, we're not going to just go put a pesticide out there. If there's no weeds, we're not going to put a herbicide. Also, as far as sustainability goes, we don't just have like we're going to put 250 pounds of nitrogen on a crop. We take soil samples every week. We take petiole samples every week, and we really only give the crops what they need when they need it. So that's a big part of sustainability for us. It's not just applying to apply. We really spoon feed these plants to really try to get the most out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Going back a little bit to, obviously we talked about what a pivot is. Can you talk a little bit more? I mean, we've talked to so many people on how technology has advanced, and a lot obviously in at the plants, but I know in the storage facilities too. Can you talk about some technology or machinery that y'all use as well?
Yeah, so our biggest thing of technology, especially if you're specifically in the fields, is our GPS. We use Green Star GPS. It is, you can get accuracy of sub inch on all of our tractors, all of our planters, all of our harvesters. Everything is as efficient as we can be. We're in the process of changing out our potato planters to a newer type that we can have control the rows, so we can actually plant a circle instead of having wedges. So when you have wedges, you're going to apply a chemical and fertilizer to those wedges and not use it. So now, when you go through a field, it can shut off when it needs to or turn on when it needs to. You can actually plant a circle in the potatoes, and then use all that acreage. So I think that'll gain us. I think we talked about it between 3/4 to a complete acre per field. And the same thing with the harvester, the potato harvesters. We're going from a 3-row to a 4-row, which typically we have 4 harvesters in the field, and allow us to take one harvester out and go from 4 to 3, which reduces a tractor, reduces a harvester, and kind of reduces some emissions there too.
Yeah, I think of when every single time I've been to the farm, I say every single time, the 3 times I've been to the farm, I always think about that one room right off the side of the farm, and I'm a big Batman
Yes.
fan, and I'm like, this feels like the Batcave of the insane TVs and boards of all of that, and it's like the red and green lights. And I think last time when we were up there, you talked a little bit about, and this might be what we're talking about too, of just the importance of that, of knowing like what can and can't be touched and how important that one screen or system is. Can you talk a little bit about that too, for maybe those who haven't been familiar with that?
So that's the irrigation. We call it our control room. Literally, we can control every pivot that's on our farm or Patterson or Northwest through that computer. We also have to monitor and control our pump stations at Hunter Circles and Patterson, which is about 20,000 horsepower. So we have to monitor that depending on, because if you go over certain pressures at certain points, it'll blow up pipes, and we'll have some serious issues. And with with that irrigation, it will actually tell you, hey, there's a problem at this circle, this pivot, at this pump. So there's a lot of different things that go in there. And that is probably honestly the most vital part of the farm, because if you don't have water, you don't have a farm, period. So I mean, you can have all the technology and the fertilizer and chemical and tractors, but if you don't have water, it's just sagebrush.
Yeah. I always just find that one part so fascinating. And like the person behind the computer, it's like you hold so much power to your point.
Yes.
It's like this is
Yes.
such an important job. It may not seem like it from like the outside point of view of like you're just sitting there monitoring, but it's such an important part. To your point, we wouldn't have anything if we didn't have that.
No, absolutely 100%.
Yeah, and forgive me, I feel like I heard this. It's monitored 24/7. It's 2 or shifts,
Yes.
is that right? Yeah.
So once water turns on,
Mhm.
we have got to have somebody in that seat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Until it shuts off.
Wow.
So that's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Talk about
I think is
unsung
incredible.
heroes.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Big
There's
time.
so many.
Big time.
And being this as one of them, if we didn't have water, that would be a challenge. But what other kinds of challenges do you face on the farm? I mean, we know that climate is always a thing that we're talking about, or weather, or things of that nature. But I mean, we talked about machinery too. So if there's any other challenges that you could highlight, that'd be great.
Honestly, we try to control as much as we can. So we control the chemical, the fertilizer, we control the seed. The biggest thing and our biggest challenge, honestly, is the weather. I mean, if you've seen it since October, I think it's rained like 14 inches, which is very not typical for our area. We're usually around six inches for the year.
Wow.
So with this happening, it's actually pushed back a lot of planting dates already this year. I know with our sweet corn planting, they were pushed back about 10 days right now just because it's so wet. And if you were to put that seed in the ground, it would, it's not going to make it just because of all the water and the wet. It wouldn't come up.
Yeah.
So honestly, weather as far as on this farm, it is absolutely 100% the weather.
Yeah.
Whether it's too much rain, or in the middle of the summer, hot weather, if it's 110, 120, nothing likes that, including potatoes, corn. There's nothing that really likes that hot. So weather is our biggest challenge. We can mitigate, pests and different things, but we can't change the weather.
Yeah, and we do tend to see those pretty big pendulum swings of, we know, super hot days, super cold nights, but even sometimes when you see a lot of rain in the spring, it, in my experience, feels like it's going to be a hot summer.
Yeah, we haven't had a ridiculously hot summer for a couple of years, but I feel like one's coming.
Guys, don't put it out there.
Right. Well, I mean, it's reality.
It's true. Fair enough. Switching gears a little bit, what are there any like long-term goals that y'all plan towards or work towards as a farm operations, or anything for the farm itself?
Specifically for like the crops, we've actually for the past couple of years have really been collecting data and analyzing it just to try to find the sweet spot for chemical fertilizer on each crop, as far as especially potatoes, obviously, but even for corn, peas. My agronomy team really works hard on, when we collect data, really analyze it and come up to the best situation as far as fertilizer and chemical of what we can put on, when we can put it on, and really try to make the best quality crops we can with the least amount of inputs. And that's our biggest goal, because I mean, the biggest cost for any farm is fertilizer and seed. So if we can lower our fertilizer costs by not putting as much on, that's going to be a win all day long. And that's what we've really strived to do. And I think we've actually done that with the data we've looked at and we've collected on our farm. We've really reduced our inputs for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
I was just saying too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, I feel like that too goes into so much like full circle of us talking from the beginning of like sustainability, like all those efforts are always taking part of everything else that we're just trying to do as a company as a whole. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think that's what we've heard so much from so many in the, especially in the like field side of it or the farm side of it all, is that it's like so much proactivity of trying to think of like, okay, what is the next thing that we could be doing? Because yeah, there's obviously things like the weather that are out of our control, but just trying to mitigate all of the other factors.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons that we're in the, like, even the growers are, our agronomists are, they're in the field every single day trying to control the factors that we can.
Mhm.
Because when the factors come that we can't control, it won't be quite the issue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I should preface this. Rachel's gonna laugh again. I have a Haley question, and it's a
Mhm.
question that maybe isn't the most intelligent one, but it's just a,
Hmm.
a curiosity one. So when you say inputs and the cost of them, like fertilizer and seed, um,
Mhm.
we all pay water bills. We all know what that looks
Yep.
like. What is that not a cost that or is it just not as big of a cost, or what does that look like? Because we know we use a lot of water, but I'm also not super familiar with Western water law, a little bit, but not enough. If you could
Right.
tell a little bit about that.
And I'm not an expert on like the water law. Basically,
Mhm.
what costs us is the electricity. And
Okay.
yes, it is very expensive.
Hmm.
But as far as like the water that goes, we have water rights. We have rights to pull the water
Right.
out of the river. And basically, the biggest cost for us to get it there is the electricity. Because I mean, like I said, we have 14,000 horsepower at 100, which is a lot of electricity to run those pumps. Especially in June, July, it's 100 degrees. Everybody wants water,
Hmm.
and you're running at max capacity. That's a big bill.
Yeah. I don't even want to see it. Don't show me.
Yeah, no.
I No, you don't.
I don't.
Ignorance is bliss in this situation. We just know that
Yeah.
it
Yes.
happens and we're thankful that it does.
Yes.
Right.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, what a cool thing to live in an area that provides something like the Columbia River. I don't think a lot of people understand how big that river is, until you
Oh
see it in
yeah.
person. So,
Mhm.
definitely a big opportunity. So, but that was, unless Rachel, you had something else, that was kind of all I had. Um, unless you have anything else you want to add, Patrick, anything that people should know before we leave today.
Um, yeah. So the farm it's an interesting place. Once you work out here, you really don't want to work anywhere else. Um, as far as just the place, the people, you'll probably never find a place where people are so dedicated to what they're doing, to growing crops for not only Lamb Weston, but for people to eat. It's just a different feel. Um, and it's pretty special. We really love coming to work every day. A lot of not a lot of people can say that, but we really truly love coming to work, working with the people we do work with. It's really awesome. We have great people, and we really enjoy what we do.
Uh,
We feel that whenever,
yeah.
like when we were out there the last time and we were able to talk to y'all, we're like, gosh, the passion here is just crazy. And so we've been able to say this to, I think, a lot of people that do so much that is unseen, but we're very thankful to have you all because again, we see so much of the end product. Not a lot of us are able
Mhm.
to see the process to get it there and all that goes into it. And so we're thankful that y'all love it so much that y'all continue
Right.
wanting to come to work
Yes.
to make it happen.
Oh no,
Yes.
absolutely. Um, Sorry, you might have to put this in somewhere, but as far as sustainability goes, I'd be amiss if I didn't call this out. With the Patterson farm, especially with the frozen plant and the dairy, the wastewater that comes off from the lagoons, from the dairy, and from the plant, we actually reapply that to our ground, and we use that fertility to grow different crops. Like right now, we're using that to grow our grain corn, which essentially will get sold back to the dairy, so that they can put that feed into the cattle feed. Also, when the frozen group harvests the corn and peas, all of that, the waste and silage, it could just go somewhere and be thrown away, but they take it to the dairy and it gets refed to the cows as well. So it's a pretty neat operation over there as far as vertically integrated and very sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know there's probably so many stories to highlight even on
Yes.
that area alone. I mean, everything up there. Of course, we could spend 2 months, I'm sure, and it wouldn't be enough.
Yes. Yeah. You could have a whole podcast just on how the dairy and the farm over there works.
That's awesome. Cool.
Well, thank you, Patrick, so much for sharing so much information on all this. I really think it'll be beneficial for people to just have a little bit more insight on all that goes into just a sliver of the farm operations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's in 30 minutes is a pretty tight window to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. This
We're
is scratching the
scratching.
surface.
Thank you. Exactly. So, all right, cool.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon. So
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Yep. And that's all with our conversation with Patrick. I always just think back of we were actually out with Patrick out on the farm. God, it feels like months ago, but whatever that was.
July of 2024, but it does feel like eons.
Eons. So we were in what I call the Batman room. And it just is, it's funny because it's not even like that many computers. It just is like the one hub source for everything. And I remember him telling us when we were there too about the crazy horsepower and the 24-hour surveillance and just like how much dedication goes on to making certain things work and like safety of the plant, safety of the people. Again, too, not that I think farming is simple, but it just is like crazy to see all the technology that goes into it too.
Yeah. And the 24 hours constant run. I mean, I can't even imagine. You have to have somebody in that seat at all times to make sure that things are running properly. So if for anybody who hasn't been out there, make sure you ask Patrick about the Batman room if you ever do. And maybe he'll get a chuckle out of it. But I mean, yeah. And on top of that, which totally different kind of out of left field, what blew my mind is I've always known that we've had a dairy. And I know that's been a part of our sustainability practices in terms of being more cyclical with how we, responsibly manage our waste of potato peels, all these different kinds of things. But I did not understand the magnitude that we have 6,000 head on our farm, like that on our dairy farm. That blows my mind. So just some really, really cool things and cool knowledge from Patrick today that we're super, super excited to hear about all the time.
Yeah. I don't know why. I feel like this is probably every episode, but this will be a generational reference. But I just am like, when you're saying that, it was like, the more you know in the rainbow. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, I probably feel that in every episode, but more than anything right then, it was like, gosh, the more you know.
It's true. And there's a lot to know. So we will hopefully hear more from Patrick and some other folks out on the farm in future episodes. So stay tuned for that. And as always, thanks for listening or watching, however you get this podcast. And then we will see you next time on Tater Talk.